991, your choice for hip-hop and R&B soul. Hello there. Yes, and you are hearing my voice is Khilo. So, of course, you already know it's time for a new episode of Hampton Roads Voices, okay? Stumbling all over my words, that means it's time to go. It's Friday. But can't go yet because we have 2 hours packed of great information for you. And tonight's episode, just like every single week, has a lot of information, a lot of insight, a lot of advice, knowledge that you can use and apply to your own life as well as your family's life. Tonight's episode is entitled Out of the Streets, and we are focusing on keeping children safe from gang activity, gang violence. We would like to keep everybody safe, but we're going to focus on the youth, okay? How can parents, realize the signs or recognize the early signs of gang involvement, or if their child is already in a gang, what they can do to get help or get them out if that's a possibility, and everything in between, okay? And of course, we have special guest experts here, all right? So, first and foremost, we have Miss White, Synethia White. Am I saying your name correctly first and foremost?
Synethia.
Synethia White. She's from the city of Hampton. She's the Youth Violence Prevention Manager. And we also have Terry Bonner here. He's the Supervisor of Street Outreach Workers for the city of Newport News. Hello.
Hello.
Hey, Khilo.
Hey, thank you for being here on today. And really quick, if both of you can just tell me about what you do for the city of Hampton and for the city of Newport News. And we'll start with ladies first.
Appreciate that. Again, I'm Synethia White. I am the Youth Violence Prevention Program Manager for the city of Hampton. I have been there in that position for about 3 years. I've been with the city of Hampton for a decade? Does that sound real old?
You don't even look like you can work anywhere.
Appreciate that.
So what do you do for the city of Hampton exactly?
Well, I am responsible for our summer employment program, all of our community-based initiatives related to preventing young people from getting in trouble. We have a youth violence prevention mini-grant program where we award funding to smaller grassroots organizations. This year we launched an evening basketball league called Hampton Hoops.
Yeah.
We are going to be kicking off a re-imaging campaign for black males. What else do we have going on?
So much in Hampton.
So much in Hampton. I'm also responsible for, we lead and implement the life skills curriculum in our middle schools and alternative school settings and after school programs across the city of Hampton. So seeing, about 500 kids, young people.
Oh, wow.
During the year. And this year we're going to be kicking off a mentoring initiative, an employer-based mentor initiative where we are going to be pairing bigs who volunteer as city employees to serve as mentors to young black men in our school or young black boys in our school system in the elementary schools in the city of Hampton.
That is awesome. All right. Doing the work in Hampton. How about you, Mr. Bonner?
Well, I'm not going to go into all of the details, the long version. I've had a few interviews and people ask me, well, what do we do? I want to keep it simple. My team, we go out into the community and we go up to gang members or suspected gang members and we try to pull them out of the gang. We run a jobs program. I want to say what's up to all of the people in the STEP program working in the city of Newport News. We have about 400 or so young people, 16 to 24, working right now. And that's pretty much the work that we do. We are definitely aggressive in going into the community. We go into all of the neighborhoods in Newport News. Name a couple of them just to get them out there. Marshall Court, Ridley Circle, Newsom Park, New Harbor, we'll call it Walker Village. And so we're definitely in the neighborhood, Courthouse Green, Aqueduct. And the reason I'm naming these neighborhoods is this is where my staff goes. So we are definitely trying to be aggressive in what we do. We walk right up to teenagers and try to find out what's going on and try to pull them out of that lifestyle.
Good for you. Good for the city of Hampton and good for the city of Newport News that you guys are actually hitting the pavement and trying to get something done at least, to curb this I want to say it's a slight increase, but it might have always been, I'm only 25, so I'm just seeing it might be a gang problem in the Hampton Roads area, but it might have always been a gang problem. So, of course, it's called Hampton Roads Voices, so we want to hear your voice, Hampton Roads. That's right. Give us a call, 823-9110, if you want to call in and tell us a little bit about anything having to do with gang activity, or if you have any questions, okay? I'll kick off the first question, and then we're going to go on a break, and then hopefully we'll have somebody on the phone. So what are some suggestions that you have, Hampton Roads, for your community, rather it's Norfolk or Chesapeake, Virginia Beach, Newport News, Hampton, and so forth and so on, to decrease and prevent youth involvement in gang activity? What do you think we should do? Either as elders, as parents, as whoever, what do you think we should do to decrease and prevent youth involvement in gang activity? 823-9110, 823-9110, or you can hit us up on Twitter and Facebook using the hashtag HRV, hashtag HRV. So we'll be back in a few minutes, and when we do, we'll continue this conversation. Hampton Roads Voices out of the streets on Hot 91. Hi, 91, your choice for hip-hop and R&B soul. Yes, Hampton Roads Voices is live right now, and today's episode is entitled Out of the Streets, okay? And that's exactly what we're trying to do with our youth. Keep them out of the streets, okay? So we're providing parents and elders with tips, some advice, some knowledge about gangs, about the early signs and detections that your child or your nephew or your niece or whoever may be involved in a gang, what you can do to prevent them from being in a gang, and so forth and so on. And I put out a question to Hampton Roads, and we want to hear from you. 823-9110, 823-9110. What are some suggestions that you have, Hampton Roads, for the community in order to decrease and prevent youth involvement in gang activity? Also, before we went on break, I introduced our special guest experts for tonight. We have Synethia White. She's the Youth Violence Prevention Manager of the City of Hampton, and also Terry Bonner, Supervisor of Street Outreach Workers for the City of Newport News. All right, so we're ready to dive into the conversation. This question, and we were talking about it a little bit off of air, and Synethia said there is no definition. So let's get into it. What is a gang, quote unquote? What is a gang? And, what are the characteristics, or, what to look out for what a gang is?
I think Terry and I said it offline best. I think if you see that your young person is hanging with other young people and they are only involved in negative, engaging in negative behaviors, I encourage parents, don't wait for your child to throw up a gang sign, or don't wait for them to wear a specific color or clothing, because that interaction and that recruitment starts long before they are quote unquote official. I think that I don't know if it's a pet peeve, but it is a definite concern, because textbook things change all the time. Everything else evolves. So if you learn something in training and you're looking for 4 young people standing together doing the same thing, how they're not a dance group?
Ready to pop lock. I hear you.
Yeah, and I would say, and that's been the problem that I've had on the street level and dealing with some parents, because they don't see red bandanas or blue bandanas. Their first thought in their head, well, my son's just hanging with his friends, and well, if your son is hanging with his friends and robbing people or shooting at people or getting shot at, that's a gang. And the gang structure in Newport News, and I'm going to speak about Newport News, is extremely different than what people are used to or what they see on TV. You're not going to see kids walking around with red bandanas or blue bandanas. It's basically broken down into neighborhood cliques. And I think it's that way in some of the other cities, those surrounding cities. And these neighborhood cliques change. They change monthly, change weekly. Kids move to different neighborhoods, become a part of that neighborhood. So it's a completely different look. And it's harder for parents, because most parents, what they're used to seeing about gangs is an organized structure. And this thing is not organized at all. So, and just when I was coming up, a lot of the so-called gangs were getting together. And I came up, and I like to say as a teenager, in the 80s, all right, they were selling drugs. They were organized to make money. A lot of these neighborhood cliques are shooting each other because they're beefing on Facebook.
Yeah.
And sending messages back to each other. So it's really not organized to the point where a parent could recognize it. He's just hanging with his friends, but his friends are doing a lot of negative things, and they're in a game.
Well said. Well said. So we do have a few phone calls, and let's get to them. Hot 921, you're live on the air, and this is for you, and everybody else is going to call in. We're going to remain anonymous on today. If you want to share your name, great, but I'm not going to ask for it. Okay, so you're live on the air. What's your question, comment, or concern?
My statement is basically, as far as trying to prevent it, is there's not really too much to prevent, actually, because if the kids are going to do it, they're going to do it. But the best thing that I can suggest growing up myself is to actually have the parents, the neighbors, make the kids feel more like a family member, make them go out, have family activities, do things around the actual neighborhood. Nowadays, neighbors don't even know each other. And nowadays, parents are either working too much, their kids have a lot of free time on their hands, and it feels like them joining the gang is more of them having that actual family member. That's their family. That's their brother in arms. That's the person that they could look up to or lean on when something is down. And in that case, it's not really true. And as far as the parents really seeing, the parents could see them hanging around with a group of guys. They're not going to know what the group of guys is going to be actually out there doing. Certain key signs, like y'all stated earlier, is they start wearing more of a certain color that they're not really used to wearing, or burn marks or scratch marks or something like that in that nature. You will definitely see it. You really won't see, like I stated, them actually doing the actual activities, robbing people or hurting people. The parents won't see that because they're either working or doing something, whatever that they have planned on themselves. So I think that's the best way to do it, is to have more interaction with the kids, more family time, and try to avoid family time from the streets becoming their parents.
Well, don't you think that may be a preventative measure?
Yeah, that can be a preventative measure, but in a way, like I stated, it takes more than just that one parent. It takes more than just mom and dad. It takes neighbors as well. It takes, like I stated, back in the day, neighbors knew each other. Nowadays, we keep our doors locked. We don't know neighbors. We don't even say hi to neighbors. We get in our cars and go on about our day. We're so concerned about our own life that now we're really thinking about our children's life or our next door neighbor's children's lives. So at the end of the day, they're looking at us just as, oh, I don't know that guy, let me get away from him, or whatever. It's just as simple as me making cookies and bringing it over to my neighbor's house and having the kids involved, or having like I did in New York, like we did in New York. We shut down a block, have like a little block party, little activities for the kids, or something in that nature. Have the kids help join in with the activities, something in that around that area.
I definitely would agree with the caller that parents and older adults need to spend more time with these young people. In my experience in working with some of these young people, they're missing something. It's not about just giving your child an activity. What they are missing, and you can tell, you can go to Facebook right now, they are using terminologies like, when their friend get locked up or friend gets shot, I miss you and I love you. And they're using terms that we didn't use when I was coming up. You had a best friend, you never really told your best friend that you loved them. But they are doing that. And not just spending time with your child, you need to be involved in your child's life. And I mean, what I mean by that is my children, and I'm speaking from my own experience, they have the illusion of privacy. They don't actually have any privacy.
I like that.
Yes.
And what I mean by that, I'm in their life. I'm in their business. I know who their friends are, and I know the ages of their friends. And one of the key signs, if you have a 15-year-old son and he has a 16-year-old friend, a 17-year-old friend, a 20-year-old friend, and a 14-year-old friend, that's not normal. Don't just think your son has an old soul and he has all these different ranges of friends. That is a sign that your son may be involved in something that's not so good. You have to be in your child's business. My daughter backpack is subject to be searched at any time she comes in my house. And I've talked to these young people and asked some of the gang members, like, where are you keeping this gun at? They keep it right in the house. It's in their room. They don't have stash houses all over the city. They keep this stuff right on them, and it's right in their room. And I'm not telling parents to strip search their kids every day they come in the house, but you have to be in your child's business. You should know whether or not he went to school during the week, how many times he missed out of class. Or you should be in your child's business.
Yeah. Okay, so we want to keep the calls going. We do have one more call, but I'm asking you, Hampton Roads, what are some suggestions you have for the community to decrease and prevent youth involvement in gang activity. We're going to take one more call, and then we're going to, get more into this conversation. 823-9110, 823-9110, or use the hashtag HRV on Facebook and Twitter. Hi, 91, you're live on the air. What's your question, comment, or concern?
Hi, my question, it's my comment. I have 3 boys, and my sister has 2 boys, so this situation is very important to us. We have, 5 little boys of color. And I remember reading something a little while ago about reasons why boys decide to go into gangs, and females too, but just from my viewpoint, boys decide to go into gangs. That's what I read. And one of the things that were listed was because the parents either coddle or just give up responsibility altogether. There's no middle ground. So I think what we could do as a community is try to do a workshop or something like that to reach out to the parents, because it does start in the home. And also, they are just looking for family. They are looking for people who need discipline. They crave discipline in order to know how far to go and the limits to go. And if you don't have it at home, then, you're finding it somewhere else. And in the gang, there's a lot of discipline because there are a lot of rules that you can break. But as far as whatever we crave, we have to find it somewhere. Like, for example, people who are anemic, if they have pica, which is, they're craving odd stuff. Some people eat chalk, some people eat dirt, just because they need to fulfill that craving, that nutrition, that deficiency. They need to fulfill that. And I think it's the same with the gangs. They need to be fulfilled in that aspect. They need family, friends, people who are saying, hey, I care about you. I want you to do well. I'm looking to see you do well. And so I think, like I said, something for the parents to start at home, and then after we get, that going, there's something for the kids just to let them know, hey, we care. Do y'all, if you see a group of boys, 4 or 5, hey, do y'all want to go get something to eat? That's just a time that somebody can take out to minister to that person, to the kids, just something that they can do just to engage with them, to let them know, hey, we actually care about y'all out here.
All right. Thank you for your comment.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, okay. Anything to add?
I mean, I think she made some very good points, but I think the key on that is relationships. Most of this is relational. If you are not fully present and engaged with your children, and you're not supporting them and providing discipline, like, I have 2 children. When they grow up, I want them to think that I was their friend, but right now that's not my concern. I have to provide those boundaries and that structure. What I will say I can say for Hampton, and I believe it's an issue in Newport News as well, we have parenting classes, parenting programs. We have groups. We have the Community Services Board runs a program called Strengthening Families, which is based on communication, but it's proven to help families communicate better, which reduces conflict, which also improves the young person's ability to deal with conflicts and improves conflict resolution, relationships, the way you see your mom, the way you see your sibling, which also changes the way you see your neighbor. But you have to pull teeth to get folks to come. It's typically either, I think in Hampton, if you're a resident, it's free. And if you're not from Hampton, I think it's $1. Even with Strengthening Families through the CSB and the Community Builders Network, they actually pay some folks. If you need a ride, they're going to make sure you have a ride. They have daycare. They're going to feed you dinner. You're going to win prizes. And getting people to come is the issue. It's not that it's there. It's not there.
Right.
It's just folks don't want to come. And so I agree with what she's saying. But on my end, I would like to know how we get folks to come out and participate in the things that are good and things that will help them to form relationships. Because I've seen it in my previous position where we had parents who came, and by the end of the 10, 12-week program, they hanging out together on the weekend. They going to the beach. They looking out for each other.
That's good.
To say, hey, this came home this week. Did you get that report card? And so I think it's the little things. I think a lot of times we think too high. You think that to be a good parent or to keep your young person out of trouble, you need to have a PhD in parenting. And that's not the case. I was raised in a household with neither of my parents present. My grandmother did not have very much money, but as Terry said, I knew I lived in her house. And so she coming in that room, she checking things.
And let me add to that, and I feel safe because I'm on the campus of Norfolk State, so right. I feel safe to say this. There was a study done by Dr. Hughes, or Hughley, from the University of Pittsburgh, and he conducted this study with Harvard University. And they found that when you teach African-American kids, black kids, and black young ladies self-awareness and about their history, their grades improve, which generally means their behavior improve. So one of the things, as I said, I feel safe on the campus of Norfolk State to say this.
Absolutely.
What we need to get back to doing, because, you know, I'm in the ears of young people all the time involved in criminal lifestyles, and not just telling them not to do something, this is bad, but really explaining to them their legacy, the history of our people, or where we came from. And when I have these conversations with them, it's different. They perk up because they don't know and they're not getting it. We're not doing that as a community. They seem to think that our history started with slavery.
With slavery, yeah.
And they think that, you know, they think George Washington is a great person because they are taught that every day in school. And I'm not trying to get on a soapbox. I just think we need to attack this problem different.
Absolutely.
We've been doing the evidence-based material. I know everybody out there that's a counselor and a social worker, they are used to hearing the word evidence-based. I don't know who they're basing the evidence on, but we need to bring some self-awareness to these young people, because some of the young people, when I have these conversations with them, they start to open up. And I asked the young man, I said, well, name me the top 5 richest people in the world. And the first thing out of his mouth is Oprah Winfrey and Jay-Z. And I had to advise him, no, they're not in the top 100. And it opened his eyes up. So I thought Jay-Z and Oprah were the richest people in the world. No, they're not. All right. I thought that we came over here and we got off the boat and we were slaves and my history started.
Right.
And we just need to think outside of the box. They've already heard, they've been to anger management classes, they have in-home counselors. There's so many things in their lives, but the one thing that we haven't tried, I think, as a whole, is to bring some self-awareness to some of our young people and make them understand that we are a community.
Yeah.
We have some common things. We have some things in mind, you know, so
and
I feel safe at Norfolk State. Right?
No, you are safe. And,
Okay.
and you're especially safe on this here show, because if you let our listeners know, we really go into into topics like that. But yes, I agree. Self-awareness, it makes you makes the children, I'm sure, value themselves. And then it makes them value the person that they maybe was shooting at last week. You know, I'm a black king, so, you know, we have the same history. We come from the same family, the same roots, you know, so that adds a little bit of a different level or a different perspective to the children. So I think that's a really good point. You wanted to add something, Synethia?
And don't get me wrong, I think the caller said that with coddling and things of that nature, young people who feel secure in their home and know that their parent is going to support them do better. That's super important. I think that, one, we do have to, if you have a son, you are going to have some different conversations with him. One, because he's a boy, and then two, because he's a young man of color. I'm not going to back away from that. Those are conversations I'm going to have with my young man.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think you also need to give them time to grow and support them in their development. So what bothers me a lot are 2 situations. One, where everybody's been in a grocery store and there's a child who is lost it. And you can see that there's a clear lack of boundaries and discipline, or whatever you want to call it. And then you can see another child in the store who is being a child and is getting absolutely torn up or berated verbally, because the person is either fed up, and everybody has bad days, but you have to understand that you have to support a young person from 1 to 2 to 10 to 12 to 15 to 21, so forth and so on. I'm 35 years old.
Okay.
I'm going to pick up the phone and call my grandma if I need something, period, or I need to talk to somebody.
Still.
But expecting a child who is 5 or 6 to behave and respond in a certain way because you're grown is unacceptable. But at the same time, a child who is 5 or 6 who is cursing, hitting, and doing those things, it's not funny. Because at 5 or 6, if I'm going to cuss you out at 5, hold on, 15.
Say that again, Synethia. That's not funny. It's not funny. And sometimes we pass it off as cute, but that's an underlying issue there. Listen, if you're on the phone lines right now, I need you to hold tight. We're going to take a quick break. We want to continue this conversation. We want to get deeper. It's about keeping our children safe and preventing them from being involved in gang activity. The Hampton Roads area has a gang problem. Sometimes we don't want to say it. Sometimes, we want to turn a blind eye to it, but it's a gang problem in the Hampton Roads area. So we want to decrease it and we want to curb it. And we also want to provide our parents with tips and knowledge and the know-how and all that good stuff. Okay. It is Hampton Roads Voices out of the streets on Hot 91. At 91, your choice for hip-hop and R&B soul. Khilo is here, and I'm here with special guest experts for tonight's episode of Hampton Roads Voices, brand new episode. And tonight's episode is entitled Out of the Streets, trying to do some prevention from gang involvement and gang violence for youth. And this is kind of more tailored to parents and the elders on how to get to these babies, okay? So our special guest experts, I have Terry Bonner here. He's the supervisor of street outreach workers for the city of Newport News. And I also have Synethia White. She's the youth violence prevention manager for the city of Hampton. And we also have you, Hampton Roads. I want to hear from you. 823-9110 with any questions, comments, or concerns that you may have that is on topic, okay? Earlier in the show, I put out the question, what are some suggestions you have for the community to decrease and prevent youth involvement in gang activity? I still want to hear from you about that. But I'm also going to put out another question. Are you, in all show, you're going to remain anonymous, okay? Are you a former gang member? And do you have any advice, some insight that you can give to these young kids out here that are going down the same path that you may have went down, okay? Like I said, you will remain anonymous. You can give me whatever information that you do or do not want to, but your testimony, your experience can really help somebody else. So give me a call, 823-9110, 823-9110. And we actually have a phone call, so let's get to the phone lines. Hi, 91, you're live on the air. What's your comment, question, or concern? Hey.
My name is Ben Goodman from Chesapeake.
Okay.
And I got a request.
Okay. A request. A request. Yeah. What kind of request do you have?
This is about this gang violence.
I'm sorry?
You talking about the gang violence now?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, because I want to speak for that too, because I got my best friend, he was a gang and something because on the kids, see, these young kids, they don't have I'm going to get it right, I'm sorry.
You're fine. Take your time.
Okay. These young kids don't know how to cooperate with the other kids and see this born man doing it. And it's like, no, don't do it. No, don't do it. The violence is like a community. This is not this is not right for these kids. And these kids supposed to be stay in the books. Stay in the books.
Okay.
Hello?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, stay on the books. And everybody said, okay, hey, they want to do this. Hey, go to school. Don't do no violence, nothing. But man, everybody out here do the same thing. Same thing. These kids out here trying to do whatever they want to do. And seeing the older man's doing, then they do it. No, it's not that they do it. It's like, okay, people don't try to in the world. Don't go out in the world and say, hey, I want to do this. I want to rob you. I want to steal cars. No, that's not what you do.
Okay.
It's not you do.
Gotcha.
Stay in school. Stay in school.
Gotcha. Well, I really appreciate your comment and thank you for listening and calling in, okay?
All right.
Alrighty, have a good weekend. We do have some other calls, 2 more actually. Hi, 81, you're live on the air. What's your question, comment, or concern?
Hi, my comment is I'm a single parent for many years. I have my eldest son, who is now an adult, unfortunately, is incarcerated. I noticed his issues from way back when he was 6, 7. I was a coddling parent, but it just seemed like he kept getting into trouble more and more. We're coming from New York City to move down to Virginia. I figured get my kids out of New York, we'll make everything that much better. We'll go down south, and we'll just be green and gravy, but that wasn't the case. Being that I was a single parent, I was more or less the mother and the father, so the loving, tender side, the motherly stuff, I always had his back at all times. I tried to get him into modeling, put him into the to this little military thing that they had going on at a church back home, and he was on a rise, and then he just kept getting into trouble, more and more trouble, and there was nothing I could do. So by the time he was 12, he had a rap sheet. And I was one of those hardcore parents. Listen, the only thing that a young black man has is his education, his brain. That's all you have. It's just me and you. I even tried to take it to like Bonnie and Clyde. We'll be Bonnie and Clyde. It's me and you against the world. You know, we're going to be, you know, successful people. And it just didn't take with him. Yes, his father was an absentee parent in and out of his life. And for years, I blamed his dad for the way he turned out. But I couldn't keep doing that. I'm like, okay, so where are you going wrong? I thought I was doing almost everything right, but a woman can't raise a man by herself. Mm-hmm. So I was left to wonder, okay, where did I go wrong? What could I have done differently besides trying to deter him from the negative behavior by getting him into Young Military Academy Cadet Program, karate, modeling, and, you know, just trying to maintain a job and try to keep a roof over our heads and food on the table.
Right. And okay, so you said you have a younger son as well, right?
Out of a marriage, yes.
Okay.
He is now 3.
Oh, okay. Okay. So what have you learned with raising your oldest son that you think you're going to take or do different with your youngest son? Is your 3-year-old a boy?
Yes.
Okay.
My 3-year-old is a boy,
Okay.
and I have an in-between. I have a girl. She's going on 15, so I have 2 boys and a girl.
Gotcha.
I think what I can do differently looking at where I was when I was younger as a younger mother is not bark so much and keep the negative in front of his face and pointing out the negativity around him. Like, oh, look at that kid. Oh, he's going to be a delinquent or something, because I used to tell my eldest son that. I'm like, look at these boys. You don't want to be a delinquent like they are. Stay in school. But he kept hanging around with those very boys. Mm-hmm. So I think this time around, since there is an active dad, even though we don't see eye to eye on a lot of things, I think there's that balance with him, with my youngest son, actually having his father around him a lot versus not having a father at all and just hearing mommy bark, 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 bark.
Okay, so I want to say this to you. I'm not an expert to you and other parents that sometimes, and you guys can chime in too, but sometimes you can be the best parent that you can be, but the environment may impact your child a little bit more than you. So it sounds like you tried your best. You know, you had him involved, you know, trying to keep him busy so that, you know how old people say you're an idle mind is the devil's playground or something like that. You know, try to keep him busy, try to keep him involved and out of trouble. But could it have been his environment that impacted him? Perhaps.
I was thinking that during the early years, but when we moved down south, it wasn't the same. I mean, back home we used to live in the projects where people were getting raped and stabbed and burnt up in our building on the rooftop. I moved them down here into a house. You know what I'm saying? Into a house. And it doesn't seem like it was any better. A lot of people call Virginia a little New York. And I'm like, so where did I go wrong? I moved them out of the projects into a middle-class neighborhood, and, I mean, things just turned for the worse, even more so. Now he's able to climb through people's windows versus being on the 3rd floor in a 12-story building. Can't nobody get up there. But now he's climbing through people's windows and getting access and breaking into schools. And I'm like, what? I was at a loss.
Well, ma'am.
at a loss completely.
Well, let me say this,
So
ma'am, to
I'm
you.
thinking
Maybe she can't hear you.
with this.
Ma'am, can you hear him say something else?
Yeah, let me say this, ma'am, to
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Yeah, you can hear me?
Can you hear him?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, you can hear me, but you can't hear him. Interesting. Okay. So I'll tell you what. Thank you for your call. I'm going to hang up with you so you can hear his advice on the radio.
Okay.
Okay. Alrighty. And when we go on break, I'll try to fix that. But go ahead with your comment, Mr. Bonner.
Yeah, what I was going to say, I wasn't really going to give her much advice, but I will say that you've done all you can, you've done your best, and you shouldn't, beat yourself down about that. But let me say this, and I'm going to be careful because I don't want to cause any controversy as far as you said that there is a man in your children's life now, and I think that's a very important thing to have. And I would say to all of the men out there who have kids, and I'm speaking to them, I'll leave the other debate about raising kids in single-parent homes alone, but all of the men out there that have kids, it is extremely, and I know you heard this before, but it's extremely important that you're in your child's life. And let me say this. Me and my wife, my beautiful wife out there, let me give her that.
Shout out.
Me and my wife, we disagree every single day on everything when it comes to our kids. And that is the balance and that is supposed to be there. She doesn't like when I do this. I don't like when she do that, and we disagree all the time, but it's a good balance. And I'll say to fathers out there, you need to make it a concerted effort to be involved in your child's life. Consider it an emergency situation. And I do understand that there are some complicated situations, and I'm not going to get into all of that too, but you need to understand that you're going to have to figure that out. You're going to have to figure that situation out, or we're going to continue with this trend of young people being killed and involved in violence. Almost every young person that I work with, one of the missing elements is a man. And that's not a coincidence. One of the missing elements in most of these kids' life, male and female, that I work with, because I work with female gang members as well, it is the man presence is missing. And so that's not a coincidence. That has to be, and I'm not debating whether or not a woman can raise a child. Women have done a wonderful job for many years. But in our community, the women back in the day the kids didn't have this many negative influences that they're so easily accessible. They got the internet, they got negative influence all around them. So it's a different world now. So what we did years ago, we have to change up a little bit. And I don't have the solution, but what I'm telling fathers out there, you need to get involved.
Yeah. All right. We do have some more calls, so let's get into that. And then, yes, so let's see. Hi, 91, you're live in the air. What's your comment, question, or concern?
Hi. Hello?
Yes.
Hey, I was listening at first, but okay, we live. That's my first time being on the radio.
All right,
But,
well.
I can start off by saying my name is Marquis Vines. I'm a senior at Chowan University, business administration major. I'm actually from Norfolk, Virginia.
Okay.
I'm an alumni of Booker T. Washington High School.
Okay,
and I just
Booker
wanted
T.
to give it caught my eye when you were talking all about youth. So I just wanted to give my little input, but I didn't want to, keep you long or whatnot.
Okay, go ahead, please.
So mainly, I'm a member of Cap Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, Road Delta Chapter,
Okay.
Spring 16. Also, basically, I wanted to talk about, I remember you all were saying stuff about, like, getting involved. And one thing I did want to point out is I have my own mentor organization, my own nonprofit, actually.
Is this a plug? We don't do we don't do those. Did you want to add to gang activity or how to prevent youth from being in a gang or?
Yes, to the youth from being in the gang.
Okay.
All right. So my whole motto is being involved is like one of the key concepts for keeping kids off the street, youth in particular. So whether it's football, basketball, for girls, dance, cheer, whatever it is that they have a passion for, they want to do, that'll definitely keep them involved and keep their head on the, on the right path. But what it is I do is I take what I learned in college and things like that, and I actually give back to my, the high school I went to. But right now we're a community team, so it's now youth all over. So mainly educate them on things that aren't taught in the classroom, like, resumes and interviewing tips, and, teach them about credit score, teach them that if you're 17, you can still go out here and, mess your credit up, and it can affect you 5 years later from now. So one thing that we do as a mentor organization, it's called Diamonds in the Rough. I'm sorry if I didn't mention it. But one thing we do is, we just want to educate our youth, like I said, on things that aren't taught in the classroom.
And
I'm sorry.
And you said it's a nonprofit?
A nonprofit, yes. Yeah, so we're currently waiting on we just got established, because as of right now, we were doing it pretty much on our own. It was me, and it was a step team as well. All of this is through a cornerstone of stepping.
I got you.
Like I said, I'm a member of Kappa Alpha Psi, so.
All right. So I'll tell you what, Hot 91 is all about community, especially for nonprofits. So go ahead really quick, just throw out maybe a website, and then, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, like I said, we are just getting established, but could I start off, throwing off our email and our Facebook name?
Yes, that would be perfect. Yeah.
So our Facebook name is Diamonds in the Rough Step Team. If you just search Diamonds in the Rough Step Team, you'll kind of pretty much just get a visual of everything that we've been doing, what we've been advertising.
Okay. And what's your email address?
It's going to be a capital D, capital N, capital T, and a capital R, and then lowercase OUGH@gmail.com.
And it's open for young men and women, like teenagers.
Yeah, well, mainly teenagers, yes, but only young males, this organization. Because we are a youth male step team.
Gotcha, teenage boys. Okay.
Travel around the nation, broaden the kids' horizon, give kids, who actually haven't been out of the Hampton Roads area, just experience more,
Gotcha. So, well, thank you for your comment, and best of luck to your nonprofit.
Thank you so much.
All righty. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to continue the conversation. If you're on hold, please continue to hold. We're going to get to you, and for future reference, we're supposed to be having the intern over here screening the calls. But please try not to plug your businesses or anything like that. We're just talking about how to prevent youth from being involved in gang activity. I want to hear from callers who think that they can give some insight or some advice or some knowledge or share their experiences, like we heard a few callers ago, that got involved with gang activity. Their children did. Okay, so we have guest experts here: Terry Bonner, Synethia White. She's from the city of Hampton. He's from the city of Newport News. And we have you, Hampton Roads. So give me a call, 823-9110, 823-9110. What are some suggestions you have for the community to decrease and prevent youth involvement in gang activity? Keep it locked right here. It's Hampton Roads Voices out of the streets on Hot 91. The views and opinions expressed on this program are not those of Norfolk State University or WNSB-FM. Thank you for listening. That's right. Thank you for listening to a new episode of Hampton Roads Voices. Tonight's episode is entitled Out of the Streets. We are providing you with insight, knowledge, advice on how to keep the youth from joining gangs or doing gang activity, okay? Also, what to look for and things of that nature. We have two very special guest experts on tonight. We have Terry Bonner, Supervisor of Street Outreach Workers for the City of Newport News, and Synethia White, Youth Violence Prevention Manager for the City of Hampton. And we also have you, Hampton Roads. I want to hear from you. What are some suggestions? I always get caught up right there. What in the world? What are some suggestions you have for the community to decrease and prevent youth involvement in gang activity? I want to know. Or are you a former gang member? You have turned your life around, and now you may want to call in and share your experience and some insight, because that can really help somebody else. Just a reminder that everybody who calls in today will remain anonymous unless you voluntarily want to share who you are. But yeah, I really want to hear from anybody who may have been involved in gang activity or been a part of a gang, and you're brave enough or courageous enough to call and share your story. 823-9110, 823-9110. I'm going to get to these phone lines, and then we're going to have a conversation. Hi, 91, you're live on the air. What's your comment, question, or concern?
Hello?
Hey, you're live on the air. What's your comment?
Hi, this is Pam. I've been listening to your show, and I definitely agree that, our community right now is really missing the family aspect, and the children are are missing, the self-worth and self-esteem that they need. So I agree with the fact that they definitely need more family involvement and to know their history. So I was just wondering, Mr. Bonner, can you give us a good starting point for our community to start teaching our kids our Black history, or what we can do?
Good question.
Yeah, the first thing you can do is Google. I mean, start it, and I will tell you this. Kids are used to getting Black History Month in school, and they get the same Black figures thrown in their face for the entire time that they're in school. So we need to dig a little deeper when you want to teach our history and our culture. And what I mean by that is, you don't have to, bog your kids down and give them a whole book to read, but you can print out a sheet of paper with a historical figure on that paper and give it to your kid and just have a conversation with them about it. And it's something that I like to try to do in my household. I'll just pick out a figure in history, not an entertainer most of the time, and I'll just have a conversation with my daughter or son about that person. And we'll go back and forth. And, my daughter, she knew who Nat Turner was before the movie came out. She knew that Nat Turner lived down the street from her in Franklin somewhere in Virginia. And these things were eye-opening to her. And she, and she's not going to get a lot of this in school. So I feel like it's our responsibility to teach our kids about our history and our legacy. And that's where you can start it. You don't have to make a big production out of it. You just take one person and you just have a conversation with your child about it. And you need to talk to your child about current events and how they relate to you and how they affect your community. I'm not telling you to discuss oil and gas prices and how the market fluctuates, but you need to touch bases on some of that stuff and how it can affect you.
Did you hear him? Hello?
Yes, I can hear him.
Okay, just making sure. All right.
I can't hear him that well, but I do appreciate all of the suggestions, excellent suggestions. So thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you for listening. All right, we want to keep the phone lines ringing, 823-9110, 823-9110. Now, you guys, from your experiences in your profession, what are some reasons that you're hearing on a continued basis for why young people join gangs in the first place? I know it's a plethora.
I think that, to echo what the caller said earlier and what Terry has also said, is they're looking for something that they are missing, something intrinsically that they are missing, that they don't know their value. One, they don't know where they come from, or it's the family situation. I've also heard young people say they do it for safety reasons. Mm-hmm. So if I live in a neighborhood where everybody is running or repping something, I'm not trying to be the only one out here on this island. I can't watch my own back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and pretty much that's basically it. And I will say this, the gang situation here, like I said, is extremely different than it is in California and Texas. Our structure is different. A young person can actually get out of a gang here. And anybody that doesn't think that really doesn't understand the structure in our community, in the city of Newport News and Hampton, they can actually get out of a gang. But the problem is that they're not going to be out of that environment. You're asking young people to do something that they're just not equipped to do. You want them, they may walk around your house claiming to be cool and individual and tough, but like they're on an island if they decide not to be in that gang, and they're going to need adult support and parenting support in order to make that decision, because a lot of kids are just not equipped to just be that different. You live in a neighborhood in one of our cities, and there's a large group of guys, a part of one organization, as I'll call it, organization. It's not organized, though, but let me say that. It's going to be hard for him to separate himself, but it can be done. But he needs adult support to do that, a lot of adult support.
Well, while we're on the topic, I'm very, very curious. So actually, that's good news that our young people can actually get out of the gangs that are here locally in our Hampton Roads area. How can they begin to do that? What is the first step? How can they get out of a gang?
Well, let me say this. In the city of Newport News, we have the STEP program, and it's a jobs program, and I'm supposed to plug it every time I open my mouth, but I'm not going to do that. It's a job program that the city of Newport News funds, and basically we've employed about 400 or so 16 to 24 this year. You can give a gang member a job, but you have to teach them how to keep the job. So a lot of people say, well, you give people jobs, yeah, but a lot of the skills that we take for granted, these young people just don't have. I mean, I'm not going to go into how some people showed up for interviews. They just don't have basic knowledge. And that's why I said a lot of adult supervision has been removed from our community. And so one way that I will say that you can get a young person out of the game, it needs to be considered a family emergency. And what I mean by that, I did tell my wife I would talk about this.
I like that family emergency. I like that.
If you find out that your child is in a gang, you need to treat it as a family emergency. And what I mean by that, I have talked to parents who have lost kids, and they say to me that they would have done anything to have their child back. They would do anything. And most parents now, that you'll hear them say, well, I can't move, I can't quit my job. And I'm not telling parents to do any of those things, but I'm telling you, you treat this as a family emergency. You need to call your uncles, your cousins, your grandmothers, everybody that you know to get on your child.
Rally around.
Yes, wrap around services, as we call them in our industry.
And I think, as Terry says, supporting those soft skills, because it's not just once you get a job, that's great, but keeping it. But we take a lot of things for granted. So if I'm going to run late, picking up the phone to call, I've heard a million times, well, I was coming. So why do I have to call? It wasn't like I wasn't coming to work. Or earlier I talked about conflict resolution. Everybody who's ever had a job this side of heaven knows that there's somebody or the chance that you might disagree with somebody at work.
Yeah, but
you have that disagreement at work, you have to know how to handle that responsibly and professionally. And if you can't successfully get to a point of consensus or deal with the issue in your community, why do you expect? That's not a transferable skill. It's not going to magically appear after you walk through a place of employment or walk across that threshold. And so I agree with Terry, treating it as a family emergency, because if you would do anything to get your child back, what would you do to keep them from ever being in that situation?
Yeah. Okay, let's get to these phone lines. Hot 91, you're live on the air. What's your question, comment, or concern?
Yes, good evening. My name is Corey, and I'm from Chesapeake. I just wanted to make my humble opinion on what may be the problem, and I'm working on a solution, but so forgive me for opposing a problem and not a solution. However, I think that the issue is that there are a lot of kids having kids. So that's the start. So we don't know how, as children, to be adults. So what happens is, in societies, a part of the blame as well as the condition is that we allow society, the internet, and things like that to take over our youth or to take over our lives, because now it's all about how many likes you get. And I heard the brothers mention about, the elders and things like that. So it seems like the elders are dying off and kids are starting to grow up. And so the generation's like, well, hey, let little Johnny do what little Johnny wants to do. He has to figure himself out, give him so much leeway. Of course, and I'm 50 years old. So in my day, it was stay in a child's place. It was this, it was that. So now it's like, let Johnny be free, let him do what he wants to do. So we lost control of it. So I think that a lot of parents aren't working hard enough. They're allowing the streets to work harder than what they do. So in a two-family home, the dad is not out working the next guy because the guy up the street is loving on your son more than he is. Or the guy that's telling the daughter she's pretty, you're not telling her she's pretty enough, so you're not outworking that guy. So as parents, we need to try to outwork the system and be there for our children. And so as far as like the single-family homes, yes, it's tough for a woman to try to raise a boy by himself or children by themselves. But like the man said, there are women before us that have raised, these kids up the way they need to be. So that's not a default. I mean, there are men out here trying to raise kids on their own too. However, we just got to learn to try to wake up every morning with a purpose and try to outwork the next person. Don't let nobody outwork you. And I think that will try to help to solve the problem because, again, it's just kids having kids. So we kind of losing that system. I'm like, well, I don't know particularly how to get it back because in my day, again, parents said, hey, this is an adult conversation. Go to your room or go play outside or whatever. So now it's like let Johnny sit in front of the internet, and then Johnny's going to search everything for it. So we're not really, and we're allowing children to be in adult conversations. So then they think they're grown. You understand? So
I definitely.
I don't know. That's my humble opinion.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on everything you said. I'd like for the callers to come in and talk about this new breed of parents because, you know, I am a city official and I will not be talking about it. But I like the callers to call in and let's talk about this, the parenting that's going on in the community. Let me say this. In the young people that I work with, getting to the young people or making them try to understand to see positive roadmap to success is easy. And I'll use the word easy because it is. They will listen to you. Normally, our problem comes from the home, the rest of the house, the rest of the environment. You know, so there are young people that I have reached, but then I didn't know I had to reach everybody in the house too. And so that caller just said a mouthful. He just said what I wanted to say. And I will say this, that the parents out there, you know, for me and my wife, parenting is a full-time job.
Absolutely.
You know, my kids have become my life. You know, like I said, my kids have the illusion of privacy. They do not have any privacy. All right. They have an illusion. All right. So, and this is what we need to get back to. All right. We need to get back to parents being the boss of the household. And let me say this, and I'm going to get off the subject for a moment, but I got to mention this because this is a question that I get at community meetings all the time. A lot of parents and a lot of people in the community are asking me, where are all of these guns coming from that these young people have?
Good question.
And the reason that I need to mention this is because we live in a military town. We live in Virginia, and I'm not going to talk about gun laws because we live in Virginia. So a lot of people own guns. And most of the guns that law enforcement get off these young people are stolen guns. Most. People out here in the community who are gun owners and you call yourself responsible gun owners, you need to be more responsible. And I had to get off the subject a moment because some of the young people that I'm dealing with have been involved in some crimes, involved in some violent acts. And in every case, the ones that I'm dealing with, the gun was stolen from a legal gun owner. And we need to have a little more responsibility. If you have a gun, that's a big deal. That's a serious thing right there.
Yeah.
You can't be lackadaisical with that thing. You can't just have that sitting in your car on top of the seat. And I know I say that and people say, no, ain't nobody do that. No.
People do it.
People do that.
All the time. And they leave their doors unlocked.
Yes. These kids are listen, when they're breaking in houses, but they're not looking for your TV or your PlayStation anymore. The gun is the prize. A lot of these kids, they're not buying the guns from the gun store. They are stealing them, and they are watching people who they think may have a gun. So all of you folks out there who carry guns, that's fine. But remember, if you ever put that gun take that gun off and you lay it in your car somewhere, be conscious of people watching you, because this is where these guns are coming from. And a lot of people say, well, all these guns on the street. I can't speak to places like Chicago, but places here in Virginia, these kids are stealing these guns and they're stealing them from gun owners who purchase the guns legally, and people just need to be conscious of how they handle these weapons.
Yeah. All right.
And that caller did say a lot. Just real quick, he touched a special place for me too. I guess at a hot topic. Mm-hmm. But I challenge, like what he said, working twice as hard as everybody else. I challenge our community. If there is a sporting event, you will pay the money, hundreds of dollars for a child to participate in a sporting event. You'll be at the practice. You'll sit at the lawn chair, let the mosquitoes eat you up. You'll be at the field when they play, or at the court when they play, or travel for a tournament. But when it's time for that family time, you're busy. When it's time for the PTA meeting, it's boring. When it's time for the meeting with your child's teacher, it's an inconvenient time. When there's an opportunity for you to volunteer, I'm not trying to be around everybody else's kids. And so that's another place where we are, we have time.
Yeah.
It's just you make time for what you value, and you invest your time where you think is appropriate. Mm-hmm. And so I hate to be the bearer of bad news. A lot of our young men and women who are great athletes, they don't know, and their parents don't know about the clearinghouse. Grades don't look right. You're not going anywhere but Backyard University. Yep. But could you imagine how you could change that if you invest in a child who may not be so great on the field or on the court, and spend that time with them? Take that time to take the tips that Terry shared about learning about your culture and where you come from. Yeah. Or just chopping it up, having a good time together, laughing, checking out a movie on a Wednesday where it's free, where it's a little cheap. Because I know movies are expensive, but everything that you do with your child to develop them and keep them safe and out of the way does not have to break your pockets.
Yeah.
And can I piggyback on?
Yes, please.
Let me say this, and I'm glad I came to the wonderful Norfolk State today because my wife complains about me. My younger son, he likes to sit on the floor and roll a car back and forth, and this is the most boringest thing in the world to me. And I get down there, and these moments, but based on what my wife said and what you said, are perfect examples of maybe, tonight, when I get down on the floor with him, if I'm going to roll that car and say, this is the time that I need to sit. It's boring as I don't know what.
It's valuable.
I got to roll this car back and forth. Mm-hmm. But, these are the times where, you need to spend time with your kids. And, I sometimes working at a radio station in Norfolk State
instead of home. Huh?
Yeah, but we all need to be re-energized, and in moments like this, what makes me aware, and I'm talking to giving other parents advice, and I need to keep doing what I'm doing and spend time with my kids. But I am in their business. All right.
Okay, so who you're hearing is Terry Bonner. He kind of quit. Talking abruptly there. Yeah. No worries.
No, I thought you were giving hand signals, cutting off. I thought you was cutting me off. I'm not a radio person.
I would have talked to you and said, hey, that's enough, Mr. Bonner. But yes, who you are hearing is Terry Bonner. He's the supervisor of street outreach workers for the city of Newport News. And also we have Synethia White here, youth violence prevention manager for the city of Hampton. And we are talking about keeping these children out of the hands of gangs. Okay. What can parents do? What can elders do to prevent teenagers, our babies, from being involved in gang activity? Okay. Out of the Streets is what the episode is called. And we want to hear from you. 823-9110, 823-9110. I especially want to hear from any former gang members. I haven't heard from any of them. And I know that might be breaking code or what have you. But if you are brave enough, you will be anonymous, 100% anonymous, and sharing your experience on how you got out, how you got in, any advice you can give to these children can really make a difference. Okay. So give us a call at 823-9110 or use the hashtag HRV. Make sure you keep it locked. It's Hampton Roads Voices Out of the Streets on Hot 91. Hot 91, your choice for what is your choice? Oh, choice for hip hop and R&B soul. Trying to do too much behind the scenes. It's all good. Tonight is a new episode of Hampton Roads Voices, and the episode is entitled Out of the Streets. That's exactly what we're trying to do with these youth. Keep them out of the streets and out of the hands of gangs. It's all about youth gang prevention, okay? We have very special guest experts here who know what they're talking about, and they work it every single day. Synethia White, she's the youth violence prevention manager for the city of Hampton, and also Terry Bonner, he's the supervisor of the street outreach workers of the city of Newport News. We've been having great conversation, and we're going to continue with your help, Hampton Roads. Give us a call, 823-9110, 823-9110. What are your suggestions for how the community and the elders can rally together to decrease and prevent youth involvement in gang activity? Also, I want to know if there are any former gang members or anybody who has been impacted by gang violence, in their families or anything like that. You want to share your testimony, share your experience. That can really help out any callers that, maybe, or listeners that may be listening to the show, okay? 823-9110, 823-9110. So let's get kind of into a little bit deeper into this conversation. So we do know there are plenty of grown people in gangs. We know that already. But it seems as though gang members kind of go after young people. And I can kind of maybe guess why that is, but I want to hear from you guys. Why do they go after the babies, the young people?
Well, let me once again go deeper into this, and I will say, and I will give you from a frontline perspective the simple way that this works. If I'm in a car, a stolen car, and I'm 20 years old, and I have a 16-year-old in that car with me, and I have a gun in the car with me, and we get pulled over, who do you think is going to have the gun at that point? It's the 20-year-old's gun, but he's going to give it to the 16-year-old because the charges are going to be different. The 16-year-old is going to go to detention and probably, say that he stole the car too. So this is a strategy by older guys, and there are a lot of young people in the detention centers in Virginia Beach and Newport News and Chesapeake who have taken charges for older guys. And it is a practice in the community. And not only that, and one thing that we've seen an increase in is girls. There are a lot of girls who are sitting in detention centers for the same thing. They took a charge, they held a gun, or they held some weight for a guy, or, so that's the strategy behind that move. And young people are impressionable. So, you want to keep your ranks full. You want to get a lot. And young people will do anything, and they're not afraid of anything. And I will say that a lot of the toughest guys on the street sometimes are 15 years old because they're not scared of anything. They're not scared of the law enforcement. They're not scared of anything.
You want to add something? Nope. Okay. All right. So let's go to our phone lines. 981, you're live on the air. What's your question, comment, or concern?
Hello?
Hi, you're live on the air.
Hi. Yeah, my name is Sheena Christian Howard. I used to be the superintendent of Newport News Juvenile Detention.
Okay.
And in fact, I worked with Synethia. Synethia is a great person. She has a great insight into working with youth. It's a combination of things with our youth and gang violence. Certainly, I understand what the young man just said about that the juvenile is going to take the lesser charge, or the system is going to give the juvenile more chances. But they tack on to juveniles because, one, these are kids that are fearless. They don't mind doing things, and they have no connection. They want a belonging. They want to be a part of something. And a lot of these kids come from families, unfortunately, that haven't maybe done the best parenting. But who teaches you how to be a parent unless you came from a good parenting experience? And they're looking for a belonging. They're looking for status. They go into the school system, and if they're having problems educationally, the school system sometimes does not help them navigate those waters. So if I'm kicked down in the school system, again, I've got to find something to bring me up. But I think the biggest thing with our kids is it's not just a parental situation as far as guiding these people. We need to, as a community, mentor these kids. And not only mentor these kids, we need to mentor the parents. To teach them how to be good parents, how to guide these kids. A lot of these kids are very intelligent. It has always been an interest to me that you have one credit going into high school and you can't do algebra, but you can stand out on the street and you can calculate dough.
All right, talk about
You
it.
can calculate quantities, you can calculate prices in the top of your head. Okay? But you can't do math in school? Come on, something is wrong with this. And the way we're dealing with these kids and the way we're mentoring these kids and the way we're guiding these kids. And not only the kids, the parents. How we're helping the parents to be positive, efficient, structured parents. So it's a lot of things that claim into this gang thing. It's been out there for years. It's not a new concept. It's not a new issue. It's been out there for years. Okay, kids getting involved in things. You just had some major gangs coming into Virginia now from California and some other places that have major names. And unfortunately, the worst thing about this situation is you have the play gang. They're not really affiliated with the national gangs. You have people making up gangs, and they're going out here to prove a point, these kids. A lot of things is activities for kids after school, and I'm old school. I came out of school, like, in the 70s. I know for me, we used to could go to our school, hang out at our school, and be there for hours after school, and there were activities. Now, budgetary things and teachers want to leave early and that type of thing. Mm. We're not invested in doing activities to keep kids engaged in positive things, to mentor and guide them. So, unfortunately, it's a combination of things, and it's a big problem. But it's not just about the parents. It's about the community that what we do to support the kids out here and to make kids better. And this is definitely our future. So you got to think about it.
Thanks for your comment. I appreciate it.
Okay, y'all take care.
All righty, you too.
Bye-bye.
All right, so we want to keep the calls going. 823-9110, 823-9110, and we do have one more call. Let's see who's on the air. Hi, Nancy, when you're live on the air, what's your question, comment, or concern?
Yeah, this my name's Joe.
Okay, Joe.
What's going on? Hey, I want to talk about these games. I want to talk to my youth.
Okay, please do.
Young people that's out here. You know what I'm saying? With this gang life, you get in, you don't never get out. You know what I'm saying? I'm an ex-gangbanger.
Oh,
you know what I mean? And I started banging when I was 15 years old. I started banging when, you know what I mean? I ain't had no mama. I was adopted when I was 7. You know what I'm saying? Everything I know is foster home to the streets. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't got choices, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes the streets choose you. You know what I mean? Sometimes you might choose the streets. But the thing is we fail to understand that we're people, you know? We have people like Marcus Garvey, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X who died for us, you know what I'm saying, to come together, but we killing each other, you see what I'm saying? At the end of the day, the biggest gang in America right now is police, you know what I'm saying? So we have our young black youth who's trying to prove a point against each other, you know what I'm saying, not only for themselves, but also for the community against the police. You see what I'm saying? They think that it's cute to go hard, or it's cute to get locked up, to go back and forth to jail, when all they're doing is killing themselves and breaking down the community, allowing other people to come in and take the jobs that they need to work. It's up there to the leaders of these gangs, these so-called gangs. You know, a lot of people don't understand the definition of a gang. A gang is more than one person. It's like 2-3 people as a group. It's considered a gang in the state of Virginia. So you gotta understand, like, you could be in a group and not even have a color on and still be considered a gang. It's about what you're doing as a group. You see what I'm saying? The part that you stay with is who's gonna, is how people's gonna accept you and how people gonna portray you. You see what I'm saying? So we gotta change up, you know what I mean, what we're doing and who we hanging out. If you're trying to make it to a different, you know, and like I said, for my leaders though, it's for the ones that's out here banging and you claiming that you banging and you OG this, you OG that. You need to teach young kids what it really is, and while you start banging, it's a brotherhood. You see what I'm saying? You're supposed to come together and protect and serve your community, to keep the police from coming to your community because they're not protecting and serving. But we fail to realize that, so now we're killing each other with the drugs, the guns, giving the young boys the guns, you know what I'm saying? The young, you know what I'm saying? I'm 27, I started off 15, you know, it's almost 10 years. So here it is, 10 years ago, I'm looking at someone else, you know, trying to portray and do everything I've seen on TV. And that's exactly what's going on now. They looked at what we were doing in my generation, and, you know, generations to come, it's just going to get worse. We're going to stop it.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
How did you get out?
Me, personally, I'm my own man. You know what I'm saying? No one's done anything for me in my life that I haven't done for myself. Any consequences I've incurred, you know, came from doing something stupid. So, you know, how I got out, I did something, and I realized that the people who say they love me and care for me, you know, supposed to be my family, whatever the case is, weren't there for me. When it came down to paying that lawyer $9,000, wasn't nobody there for me, you know what I'm saying, but me and that judge and that lawyer.
Mm-hmm. Changing my real quick.
You see what I'm saying? So, you know, when you have a life-changing experience, you know, you have to like put your mind on it, like what's really more important. You know, I got 2 daughters that's out here. So here it is. If I leave this earth right now, what am I leave my child? Nothing. You know what I'm saying? At the age of 21 is when I had my first kid. So, you know, I had to change a whole lot real quick. You know what I mean? That way she'll be able to have what she have now. You know, 5 or 6 years ago, I ain't have nothing. I was living on the streets. You know what I mean? Now I got a 3-bedroom house, 2 cars, you know what I mean? Nice garage. Like, I'm doing my thing. You know what I'm saying?
Good for you. That's good.
You know, but at the same time, I'm also teaching the young brothers how to change their life and change the way that they think. You know, I listen to your show every morning. That's why I called in.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Appreciate it. But listen, can you, if you are comfortable with it and you could tell me no.
Yeah. I mean, you can ask me whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I know you're a real person, so that's what, you know what I mean? And like I said, I love your show, man. You speak the truth every morning. When I wake up, I hear my message. I go to work. I do what I got to do. So you can ask me whatever.
Appreciate you. Thank you. So, you know, some youth out there may want to connect with you and possibly see you as a mentor. And, you know, if you're interested in that, do you have any social media that they can connect with you on?
Yeah, my name is Joe Belvedere. I'm Joe Belvedere. Belvedere like the liquor. On Facebook, you know what I'm saying? On Facebook, you follow me on Facebook, Joe Belvedere like the liquor. I got a turban wrapped around my head, you know what I mean? Because I'm a conscious brother. I'm a Rastaman now, you know what I'm saying? I don't do all that foolishness no more.
Gotcha.
If you want to come holler at me, you want to learn something, you want to know about yourself and about your roots and where you come from, hit my page up. I'm more than welcome to teach anyone.
I love that. I love that so much. First of all, big ups to you for changing your whole life around. You are a homeowner now, so that means you are a working man. So my hat goes off to you and salute to you. And
thank you, Queen.
I hope that they, you know, hit you up and that you can pour into the next generation. Be blessed. I love that.
Queen. Yeah, man. You'll hear from me again. Like I said, when you hear Joe Bell, give me a shout out.
Will do. Be safe. Have a good weekend.
Respect. Blessings.
So we're going to take a quick break. I love real callers like that. That is what this show is all about. Real people calling in to share their experiences, because I know that he just helps so many other young people and people that probably aren't even all that young. So we're going to take a quick break. We're talking about keeping keeping our youth out of the hands of gangs, how we can prevent them from being in a gang. And shout out to Joe Belvedere. His name is Marcus, he said, right? I think his name was Marcus. Okay. Well, even if his name is not Marcus, shout out to him. And if you are like Joe Belvedere, aka Marcus, and you have a story about being involved in a gang, or you know, you have been impacted by gang activity, you want to share your experience, please give us a call, 823-9110, 823-9110. And when we come back, we'll continue this conversation. Clearly, I'm ready to go. It is Friday night. Make sure you keep it locked. It's Hampton Roads Voices on Hot 91. Hot 91, your choice for hip hop and R&B soul. Yes, Hampton Roads Voices is live right now. Episode is entitled Out of the Streets, and that's exactly what we're trying to do for our youth. Keep them out of the streets and away from gang involvement and gang violence. We want to hear from you. 823-9110 as we are wrapping up the show here in the home run, if you will. I want to know from my special guest experts, what is the city of Hampton, Synethia, and the city of Newport News, Terry? What are they doing now, you know, in an effort to combat gang activity? What's going on right now?
I won't speak much about the enforcement side because that's the police department. But in our shop, we are trying to create more activities for young people to get involved in positive activities and stay connected. We're working with smaller groups of young people so they learn to take value in their own community. It's a beautiful thing if you're willing to, quote unquote, die and rep your neighborhood, but it's an even more beautiful thing if you are willing to put life and invigorate your neighborhood and be that positive young person in the community. So, as I said, when we started the show, we partner with public safety. Actually, tonight is the last night for the Camp Prospect. A lot of young people in the area don't know that you can go in and be a firefighter or an EMT. We pay for the majority of the training. You can have your high school diploma or GED. The starting salary is $42,000 a year.
Oh.
You work
either
1 or 2 days a week. And let me be clear, as my city manager said, nobody makes that $42,000.
Okay.
Because of the opportunities for overtime, they make much more than that.
Oh, wow.
And so 2 firemen, the first names are Tracy and Cameron, 3 years ago noticed that there was an opportunity for them to reach out and mentor. And so we started partnering with them last year. So they run a week-long free all-boy camp. So parents drop them off on Sunday. They pick them up on Saturday afternoon. And they've learned about the career, how to get involved. Again, we had Hampton Hoops to help young people get involved. We are getting ready to start a road mapping process, which is going to engage young people in the community because they want them to give us feedback. Because a lot of things I just said, we've heard in different silos. These are the things we need. These are the things we want to do. But we're actually going to, at the end of the summer, begin to develop a youth advisory component for our office so that we hear directly from the young people to say, like, this is trash. I know y'all think that this is a good idea, but y'all are old and out of touch, and this is not going to work. And so constantly just looking for positive opportunities. I hope this is an allowable plug.
Go ahead.
We do a camp at the end of the summer. It's a Virginia rules curriculum. If you don't know Virginia law, then sometimes you don't know if you're breaking it. But if you do break it, they're not going to want to hear that you didn't know. And so we partner with the police department. We have a week-long camp for rising 6th through 9th graders. It is free. Every day they go somewhere. Zip lining, bounce houses, swimming, fishing. Take back swimming, but you go fishing, kayaking, things of that nature. We have, I just checked my phone, 12 spaces left.
Okay.
Hampton.gov/youth violence. And if you go up there, you can see all the different things that we are doing. We are always looking for people who have time and talents to invest, because as one of the callers said, what can we do? Another caller said, fathers are missing. There are plenty of ways for people to get involved, and it does not have to be your child. In many cases, it is not your child. You've heard from Terry and I today. We're both parents, and I think we spend just as much time with other people's children as we do with our own, and investing in them. But we need support in this work. Wins in this work do not come easy, and they do not come often. So if you have a suggestion, a credible suggestion, and you're willing to put in the work, let me make that very clear. I'm not asking for you to call either my office or Terry's, I can't speak for his, and dictate. But if you have an idea and you are willing to put in the work, come to the office, meet, help us critique or change things and take something to fruition, you can call us, or you can call me. My direct line is 727-2730.
One more time.
727-2730. If you want to email me, it's S as in Sam, white@hampton.gov. But again, I encourage you to check out our website, www.hampton.gov/youth violence. And if you look on the left or at the very bottom, if you're using your mobile device, you can see all that we have going on and all the things that we are looking to get involved in. No problem getting dirty over here.
No problem getting dirty over there. All right. How about you, Mr. Bonner? What is the City of Newport News doing right now to combat, gang violence?
Well, let me start off by mentioning, and I mentioned it earlier, the STEP program. The STEP program is a summer enrichment training program that the city adopted, I think, maybe 3 or 4 years. We're in our 4th year now. And basically the program is 16 to 24, you apply for this job. You're going to get the job. We get you a job. The city partnered with corporations and businesses. You go work at that corporation, and the city pays you.
Oh.
So definitely, over the last year, we went from 200 to 300 to now we're at 4, something like that. So, and we've seen that it has worked a little bit. There's been some numbers that show that crime actually went down during the summer months that this job program was going on, and we are exploring possibly trying to do something all year round. So we're attacking the economic needs as best we can. And I mentioned the street outreach work, and this is the guts of what we do. And I will give my number out right now. 298-8655. That's my direct line.
One more time.
298-8655. Terry Bonner from Norfolk. Graduated from Lake Taylor High School.
All right.
But let me say this. We are coming into communities in Newport News, and we're going right after the gang members. And we're not just working with the gang member. We're working with his entire family. We work with the sibling. If he has a sister, we'll work with her. girls and boys. So if you're a parent out there and you have some concerns, call that number. We'll get in contact with you. We'll talk to you, and we'll see what we can do to help your child in Newport News. We're trying to cut down the violence that's going on in our city. And I will say this about Newport News: the city council of Newport News is definitely putting an effort into addressing this issue. We are not in the city of Newport News trying to say we don't have a gang problem.
That's good. That's imperative.
The city is definitely paying attention to this, and they're bringing everybody to the table and saying we need to get out in front of this thing. And like I said, we don't get a lot of wins, but the work is hard. It really is hard. So, and let me get that number out again: 298-8655. If you're experiencing some issues and you want some help, call me, and leave a message if you can, because my phone is ringing right now. Maybe I shouldn't have gave out that number, but that's all right. But you call me, and I'm going to get back in contact with you, and we're going to see what we can do to help your child.
That's good. Okay, so is there a website for this, Mr. Bonner?
Yes, it is. You can go to the city manager's page of Newport News and go to the Youth Gang Violence and Prevention Initiative. And when you go to that page, you'll see up there about the STEP program, because we're always looking for business partners, by the way, and corporate partners who want to partner with us. And I'm going to word this very carefully. How can I say this? If you partner with us, one of the pros to that is, as I said, we pay them. They work for you, and you train them how to work. And we both have a mutual benefit out of this.
All right.
That's small business and large businesses. And I will say that again. That's my step plug. And I want everybody to know, when you call us, if we can't help you, if it's a situation where we can't help you, we don't just throw you away. We will refer you out to some services that can help you.
Okay. That sounds good to me. So I just put both of their contact information on our Facebook page, okay? WNSB Hot 91.1 FM. If you're driving or you just was unable to get that, just go ahead, go back to our Facebook page, WNSB Hot 91.1. You have Synethia White's information. You have Terry Bonner's information, okay? I want to thank both of you guys, Synethia and Terry. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the work that you are doing in the cities of Hampton and the cities of Newport News. And, you know, even though you're getting a paycheck, I think it has a lot to do with your heart, because you just said that the work is hard. So, it probably costs $1 million. You probably want $1 million check every time it's time for payday. So I want to thank you guys. I also want to thank you for listening to Hampton Roads Voices. Tonight's episode will be on our YouTube channel. Please, please, please go ahead and subscribe. Like all of our videos, and from now on, every single episode that you hear from Hampton Roads Voices, you can go back to our YouTube channel to digest it, to share it with your friends, to get it anytime you want with the click of a button. Don't forget that Hampton Roads Voices airs every Friday at 5 p.m. and every Sunday at 12 noon, okay? All right. Make sure you keep it locked right here. It's not Hampton Roads Voices anymore, but it is Hot 91.